Of all your climbs that you've done, I'm sure this is a very challenging question for you. Do any stand out? Like, are there few that you can think of that feel most meaningful, most memorable, most impactful?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think Lucid Dreaming was one that just very much like put me on the map as like one of the strongest boulderers out there. And that was kind of like a turning point for me in my career. And then also too, meaningful in the sense, meaningful doesn't have to be good. I mean, I got a lot of flack for that one. And
can you expand on this? I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm actually, this is somewhat news to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it was 2008 or 2009 when I did Lucid Dreaming. And bouldering, filming, it was a very different sport back then than it is today. And so I was out there with the Real Rock crew, and they were filming me trying Lucid Dreaming, and I was getting really close. And it's just like, we were like out there for like 8 or 9 days, and like it just kind of like turned into this weird thing where like all of a sudden they were like, our wives are pissed and we have to go home. So here's a camera. And I'd never used a camera in my life. They're like, here's a camera, just like film yourself. And I was like, okay. It was just like this very kind of like weird thing where it was like, I felt like almost like I didn't want to film it in a lot of ways, because I was like, what is like, this is insane. Like they wouldn't, like Chris Sharma's like close on a 516 or whatever. And they're not going to just bail. And so like, I was kind of like, this is like just such a weird situation. And yeah, I mean, I again, like filming like this whole like uncut thing, it wasn't even a thing back then.
Right,
like it's just like, everyone was just like climbing, and, it was such a small community that there was no like flack if you didn't have like footage, because no one really did. Like no one owned cameras. They were so expensive back then. And we didn't have iPhones back then. And so, I mean, at least like that could shoot any good quality footage. And yeah, I was there alone in Bishop, and like Wills Young was like kind of helping out. And then also Matty Hong was helping out too. And the morning that I did it, I called Wills, he didn't pick up. Called Matty, he didn't pick up. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to go out there, because like a storm was kind of coming. And I was like, I want to get this thing done, because I had to go back to CU Boulder. Like I was already missing class, but I was like, I'm so damn close to this thing. Like I basically done it like multiple times. And so I was like,
there's footage in that Real Rock segment, The Hardest Moves. I love that segment. And there's footage of you, like you couldn't be getting closer. It's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yes, so basically, I called them up, didn't get a response. And I was like, you know what, dude, I'm just going to go out there. And, I left messages, and I was like, I'll be out there. And so, I mean, I drove out there. It was exactly what I needed. So the Buttermilks is really interesting, right? Like it's very glassy,
right.
And it being such like a dry place, like it's like, I mean, I remember like licking my fingertips like before on the wall, because like I just like could not get anything out of that left hand. And it was like kind of like the perfect situation, right? Like there was this actual humidity in the air, which is something like in the Eastern Sierras that you never get. And so, I mean, it was like, I remember I either like had a rope. I think I had the rope set up there. Yes, I did. And so I kind of pulled it around the corner, and I was like, well, if I do this thing, like, I'm just going to I attached my harness to it. And I was like, I'll just pull the harness up and, wrap off or whatever. And so, so I just basically just got it all set up, and like, I got all the pads out, and I started kind of climbing on it a little bit. And I just, it was, in some ways, like I'm obviously kind of, still pissed at myself. I'll kind of get into that later. But like at the time, it was just like, I just want to do this boulder. And so
right.
like, I didn't go to the car. I didn't get the tripod. It was like, I was just like, I don't want to like waste my time with this when like I knew that the rain was coming.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I was the only person in the Buttermilks. Remember, there was one truck Maybe there was someone else somewhere else, but there was like, no other cars on that road. Again, a very different place than it is today. And and I set the pads up and I just climbed it, and I got onto that upper slab, and I was like, it was kind of like, what's the difference? It doesn't matter if there's crash pads down there or not. I'm going to die either way. And so, I remember, I just remember just like this, like very faint drizzle, like climbing that slab and just being like, oh my God, get to the top. I'm so glad that I attached my harness because like once I got to the top, I was like, oh, I do not want to down climb this in the rain. And so, I just wrapped off and then got back down. And then like I drove out to service because it was raining at that point. And I drove out to service and I got a hold of Maddie and Will's, and then they drove. I was like, I did it, dude. Oh my God. And like, they were all super stoked, and they drove out and the rain stopped. And then Josh, like Big Up Productions, Josh, I told him too. And he's like, all right, well, dude, like you gotta like, redo the top and everything like that. And I was like, yeah, sounds good. And so, I just like redid the crux move like a couple of times, and it felt great. And we got great footage, and I like redid the crux move, climbed it all the way to the top, redid all that sequence and everything. And like, Maddie and Wills were all stoked. And then, basically as soon as I got back to Colorado, like it just became this thing that was like, well, how can someone do something like that and not like have spotters or film, whatever. And
I hate that. It sucks.
Yeah, no, it was a very dark time for me for a long time. Where, it was, in the moment, like we've all been there. It's so annoying. Like I film because like it's good for my YouTube channel and stuff like that. And like, I like making videos, but like, do you think I like walking to my tripod, clicking record, walking back and climbing? No, it sucks. Like,
it's distracting too. Like you get used to it. But I remember when I very first started filming, which was probably like 2012, maybe, with like a little point and shoot camera that I had with crappy little video on it. I found it really distracting. I remember I was trying to do, I think it was maybe my first V10 or something, and I was trying to get footage, and like, I think early on I had to end up like trying it without, just because I was too self-conscious. I was like too concerned about what my camera was doing and how I looked and what I was doing. I was like really self-aware all of a sudden of like just how I was behaving, and yeah, it can really take you out of the moment.
Oh, absolutely. And this was like, nowadays, it wouldn't be a big deal whatsoever, but this was a 5D Mark II. So like I would have had to like change ISO, which at the time, like I had no clue how to do that. And it was just like, it just wasn't the time or the place. And like, obviously I'm incredibly proud of myself for climbing the boulder. And like, that's, who cares what other people think? But like, man, if I could go back in time. But again, right? Let's just say I went back in time, it took me 15 minutes to set it up and it was raining. Like maybe I wouldn't have done it.